You think she's drawing away because she's losing interest. But what if the gap she's creating is simply her bringing you in? What if the quiet you keep mistaking as rejection is actually an invitation and you've been walking away from the door every single time? That's what we need to talk about today. Because most men are proficient in the obvious. They can read the flirt, they can read the laugh, they can read the text back in 30 seconds. But hardly nobody taught you how to understand the silent signs, the ones that happen beneath the surface, inside the performance, inside the pauses, and those are the signals that count most. Those are the indicators that tell you she's not merely enjoying your company, she's determining whether you're worth opening up to, she's deciding whether you're the kind of man she can surrender to emotionally, spiritually, and entirely. And right now, you are passing by those signs like they don't exist. So if you're the kind of man who actually wants to understand women, not control them, not mislead them, but genuinely read them, then hit subscribe and switch on notifications because I put out information like this constantly and you need reminders. Not because I need the numbers, but because the insight I'm about to give you is not a one-time download. It rewires how you see people. And that's a process, not a moment. Here's what it truly means when a woman gives you these covert signs. It suggests she is checking the safety of your presence. That's it. That's the complete truth in one sentence. She is not playing games for sport. She is not being difficult for the pleasure of it. She is running a subconscious examination, and that assessment has one question at its center. Can I trust this man with the real me? Everything she does that confuses you, every behavior that makes you spiral and second-guess yourself, every moment that doesn't match what you expected, it is virtually always rooted in that single question. The assumption is that her signals are about you impressing her. The unpleasant truth is that her signals are about you being solid enough for her to feel safe. Those are not the same thing. And until you comprehend the difference, you will keep performing for a lady who expects you to merely exist without flinching. Let's get into it. The first sign is this. She starts recalling things you said in passing, not the significant things, not the things you announced, the things you mentioned once gently, almost accidentally. You claimed your dad used to go fishing and you haven't gone in years. 3 weeks later, she sends you an article on a lake 2 towns over. You claimed you were trying to get off your phone more, and she responds to your following story with a voice note instead of a text. That's not coincidence. That's not her being randomly thoughtful. That is a woman filing you away. That is a woman who has started paying attention in a way she doesn't pay attention to most people. Most men miss this because they're so focused on what they said last, what she replied, whether the vibe is nice right now. They're reading the moment. She's reading the pattern. And when she refers something from weeks ago, as it was stated this morning, she is telling you without telling you that you have earned real estate in her thoughts. That's called investing, and you need to absorb it without fleeing from it or inflating up from it. Receive it like a man who already knew he was worth remembering. The second clue is when she starts asking you questions that have little to do with getting to know you on the surface and everything to do with knowing how you think. She's not asking where you're from or what you do anymore. She's asking what you do when you're deceived. She's wondering if you've ever been wrong about someone you trusted. She's wondering what you think loyalty genuinely looks like in action. These are not small conversation questions. Small conversation is armor. This is her pulling the armor off. When a lady changes from inquiries about your CV to questions about your character, she is not interviewing you. She is considering whether to walk inside the door or turn around and defend herself. Most guys answer these inquiries too excitedly, oversharing, over-explaining, attempting to say the correct thing, acting depth instead of living in it. You cease being magnetic when you strive to sound magnetic. You stop being trustworthy when you try to be trustworthy. Answer her like a man who has already done the internal work. Not to impress her, but because you actually have. Be honest, be still, be direct. The right answer is never the most polished one, it's the most true one. The third sign is the one most men get completely backwards. She becomes tougher to reach exactly when things seem to be going well. You had a terrific night. The conversation went deep. The connection was real. And then she's slower to text. She's less available than she was a week ago, and you spiral. You go quiet to give her space out of fear. Or you double down and reach out more because the anxiety is too loud to sit with. Both are wrong. Both are panic dressed as strategy. When a woman pulls back slightly after a moment of real vulnerability or connection, that's her nervous system recalibrating. That's her asking herself without the words, is he going to stay even when I'm not performing? Is he going to be the same man when I'm not turned all the way on? She is not running away. She is watching to see if you chase out of fear or hold your position out of strength. The man who panics and floods her inbox is telling her everything she feared. The man who stays steady, keeps living his life, reaches out once with no desperation in his voice. That man just passed a test he didn't even know he was taking. Steadiness is not coldness. Steadiness is the signal that you are grounded in something that has nothing to do with her validation. And that is deeply attractive. Not because attraction is your goal, but because it is a natural result of a man who is not moved by every wave. The fourth sign is when she introduces friction into your dynamic. Not hostility, but gentle resistance. She pushes back on an opinion. She challenges something you said. She tests your reaction when she doesn't agree. Most men either collapse to keep the peace or explode to win the point. Both responses reveal the same thing, that your sense of self is not secure enough to survive disagreement. A woman who is opening up to you does not want a yes man. She does not want a man who folds like paper the moment she offers another perspective. She wants to see if there is a spine inside the warmth. She wants to know that the man she is about to trust with her heart is not going to bend into whatever shape is convenient in the moment. That's called the friction test. And you pass it not by being argumentative, not by softening into a puddle, but by holding your view with calm certainty while genuinely considering hers. You can be open-minded without being empty. You can be flexible without being formless. Respond with, I hear you. I see it differently, and here's why. Then let there be silence. Let it breathe. The man who can disagree without drama is the man she will lean toward every single time. The fifth sign is when she shows you the parts of her she isn't proud of. Not dramatically, not in a big, vulnerable confession, just quietly in fragments. She mentions that she's bad at apologizing. She tells you about a time she was selfish with someone she loved. She references a version of herself she's trying to move past. She's not asking for your judgment. She's not asking for your reassurance. She's watching what you do with the information. And here is the cost of getting this wrong. If you immediately reassure her too intensely, no, don't say that. You're amazing. She files you under people who can't handle the real me. She needs you to see the flaw and not flinch and not overcorrect. She needs your response to be grounded, not reactive. I appreciate you telling me that is more powerful than any compliment you could manufacture. Receiving someone's shadow without trying to fix it or flatter it away. That is emotional maturity. And emotional maturity is the rarest form of strength a man can offer. She is not showing you the broken parts to be rescued. She is showing you the broken parts to see if you can stand in the room with reality. Most men can't be the one who can. The sixth sign, and this one will rearrange how you think about everything, is when she starts protecting your energy, when she starts asking if you're okay without being prompted, when she defends your reputation in a room you weren't in, when she checks in after she knows you had a difficult day, when she starts anticipating your needs before you name them. This is not codependency. This is not neediness. This is a woman who has chosen you internally and is beginning to express that choice through action. She is not waiting for you to make it official. She is not waiting for the relationship title. She is already in it in her heart, and she is showing you through service and protection before she shows you through words. Most men miss this entirely because they are still looking for the dramatic declaration, the movie moment, the unmistakable sign. And while they're waiting for lightning, they're standing in the rain, surrounded by it. Now, let me tell you about the man who actually receives all of this. He is not perfect. He does not have it all figured out. He does not have the best body or the most money or the sharpest jawline. What he has is an unshakable sense of who he is. He knows what he stands for, and he doesn't renegotiate that under social pressure. When she pulls back, he doesn't chase. He goes back to his work, his mission, his people, and lets the space exist without panic. When she pushes back, he holds his ground without hardening his heart. When she shows him her imperfections, he doesn't look away and he doesn't overcorrect. He looks directly at her and stays. He has boundaries that come from self-respect, not rules he read in a book. He has warmth, real warmth, but it is never desperate warmth. He gives attention, but it is never hollow attention. He is not performing the role of a confident man. He has done enough internal work that confidence is simply what's left over after he dropped the act. He does not need her to validate his worth. He already knows it. And because he already knows it, she wants to remind him of it constantly. That is the man we are building here, not an image, an actual foundation. So here is what you do. You stop interpreting her silence as rejection and start reading it as reflection. You stop flooding her with reassurance every time there is friction and start holding your position with warmth. You stop performing depth in conversation and start speaking from the depth you've actually built. You stop waiting for the loud, obvious sign and start noticing the quiet, careful ones. You stop trying to be impressive and start being present. You stop shrinking and you stop inflating. You find the steady middle and you live there not as a tactic, but as a way of being when she tests you, and she will. You do not take it personally. You take it as information. You take it as her saying, "Show me what you're made of," without knowing you're being watched. And you show her, not for her, for the man you already decided to become before she ever walked into your life. Let me close with this. You are not here to decode women like they are puzzles to solve. You are here to become the kind of man whose presence makes the puzzle irrelevant. When you are truly grounded, when you are genuinely purposeful, when you have built something inside yourself that doesn't crumble under uncertainty, you don't need a cheat code. The signals become obvious. The dynamic becomes natural. The connection becomes real because you are finally operating from your actual self and not from fear dressed up as strategy. The 6 signs we talked about today, they are not tricks. They are not tactics. They are the language of a woman who is quietly deciding whether to trust you with everything she has. And the answer to every single one of those signs is the same answer. It is you, grounded, honest, steady, present, not performing, not panicking, just fully, deliberately, unapologetically yourself. That is the answer. You are the answer. If this cut through something for you, if something in here landed the way truth lands, uncomfortable and clarifying at the same time, then subscribe. Turn on notifications because I come back here consistently with content designed to strip away the noise and hand you back your own clarity. You do not need more confusion. You do not need more hype. You need more of this, and I will keep delivering it. And to the men already here, already watching, already doing the work, welcome. This is where we build. Not together out of weakness, together out of standard. See you in the next one.